Here we are back after I did the first project on the spot. We had a fantastic recording, a test recording. I had another I called commercial recording with the band of my good friend. I may call him Linus Kuno. And many more. But let me focus on one thing. I now have a bit of time to fix something while a video is being rendered in the background and such. So I tackled one, let me call it issue. It was not really an issue, but a thing that I had with this console. So I have this Talkback section here where I can make a group of auxes that I want to talk to, right? And then if I press group, I will talk to all of them, or I can just talk to individual lines. And what this used to do is, if I would talk to maybe aux 1 and 2, it would dim the aux 1 and 2. Quite a substantial amount. So I tried to hunt that down, and in the config, namely the Sigma, which I'm trying to understand, this is where some of the buttons get read in and then they do a function. And in here I was, for example, able to define that I'm not having 2 tracks anymore, but I can connect DAW 1 and 2, but also 3 and 4 to my loudspeakers, so that I can listen to more references. And in here, where I am connecting the auxes to Talkback, let me scroll through. There it is. I can define the Talkback level, meaning the dim that is happening once I'm doing Talkback. And this was at -20, and I fixed it to a -3. So that if I talk, of course the music that I will talk onto gets a little bit quieter, but not so much that I can still talk on a cue or counting, so that I can hit the button and say, hey, you're starting now, without the player getting disrupted because his music is being dimmed 20 dB. Amazing. Now the other thing is, if I talk, my speakers should be dimmed. And then there is this page here where I can configure my monitoring. And I can set the dim level here, which is for this button. But then also I have Talkback pre-level, Talkback dim left and right. Okay, so after being able to fix the Talkback level to the headphones, I was tackling the thing that if I'm talking, I want my studio speakers to dim as well. And I actually found a clue in the Sigma configuration file. Let me show you. So before, in this desk, you had 2 types of speakers that you were able to control. One was for the regie, so for the control room. And the other, it would be similar kind of monitoring setup also with the rotary switch for volume. That would be for what they would call the studio, so the live room basically, right? So I could play songs and files in the live room. And there is a setup where I can talk to the studio. The thing is, that studio speaker setup did have it that normally it would copy the level, and there's the setup where if somebody talks to the studio speakers, it would dim -20 dB, right? And that's what I copied over to my control room speaker setup, where I would say, copy the level if no talk on the auxes, which are these 8 variables. If there's nothing happening, copy the level. But if it's happening, dim it. In my case, I did -15. Now, watch what happens. If I now play, I play a file. Let me dim it on my computer. If I now talk, it gets louder. And also, I think if I talk, Whoa. I think if I talk, I lose the ability to adjust level. Yes. I don't like this. Here we go. I think I did it. I think I actually did it. And I also think it is not bad that when talking, I cannot adjust the level, or that it's not relative, because if I'm blasting it super loud, I still want it to be super quiet when I talk. Why shouldn't I? I'm talking. Now, if I turn it up, what happens when I'm on dim? If I have it turned off, it turns on again. That's weird. But like, why should I turn it off like that? I can just do it off. And here is the second change. Can you spot it? Yes, I updated my central area. And you can see the auxes went to the middle. The clipboard design is now here. The snap auto is where it's the furthest from my position. The unit control is now here for stereo and whatnot. And the idea was that after mixing, I noticed I'm straining my left arm too much to reach for the auxes, for the unit controls and everything. So I tried like that. I still noticed, because when mixing, I use the fader preset a lot. And also when recording, like this area and the temporary fader as well, together with the aux, is probably what I use the most. More than the equalizer and dynamics, right? So I think in the future I will try a few things. I first tried like this. I can imagine putting the controller sign down here so that I can, same with the Talkback, which is very conveniently here, do the fader presets from here. There's two options. Either put my phone up there then, or I put the speaker level somewhere else, because I'm not using it that much. Option number 3 would be to actually move some of this here. I've yet to use the equalizer much. I definitely need presets for these frequencies and filter types. I do use the compressors, not so much the limiter, expander and gate. But then I don't know if I need that down here. I could easily like have my auxes here, which I use far more often. It would make sense to have them right where my panorama and level is. I could have my auxes here and then have the dynamics maybe somewhere up here where I turn them on, and if I want to tweak them, I can. Welcome back to this studio and this beautiful console. But now it is maintenance day. Haha, yes. And there's a few things I want to do today that I want to show you. Minor things are, I would like to get the 24 volts rolling here for the preamp side of things. Somehow the Siemens did not work, and I guess when building this into the rack, I kind of messed up with the internal power supply, because when I switch it on, it is working, but I am not getting signal out of it. So I guess there is out of any preamp, so I guess there is a connection missing. On the other side, I also need to get 24 volts to this mixing side of things. I know I have 24 volts in this car, and I don't want to distribute it over because I kind of want to keep them separated. I don't feel good taking a 24 volt lead over. Also, I think that the 24 volt supply in here that does 2 or 3 amps, I have to look at it. But I know that the spring reverb in here, I think takes at least half an amp because of the power amplifier. Could be wrong. If all of this is done, I want to kind of calibrate the speakers because the speaker level is too high. And I noticed that before as well. I had a 3-speaker setup here that I want to get back to. And I always noticed that these were kind of like 10 decibels higher in volume than all the other speakers that are connected. And it was always 10 dB. So I want to get back to calibrating then. I have my measurement microphone here today. I also want to pull like a measurement from the room and just see where we're at. If things got better with this desk, that could be like in the 100 hertz region, 200 hertz, right? The table resonance. I don't know how these reflections are. They could be good actually, also because this is angled in a way that minimizes reflections, right? So, yeah, let's get to work. I love how clean this is looking already. Behind the console, there's a few cables there. Otherwise, neat. Good access to everything. Yes. All right. And indeed, as I have anticipated, there was a wire going from the 0 volt to my 0 volt / ground connection of this system. And that wire was ripped off during installing. So now I have it routed to the console and you can see, check. Yes, if I turn it up. Check. Yes. Haha. That is awesome. I also like that the gains are compatible. The Siemens is kind of like a low gain preamp setup, but I love the amplifiers and transformers in there. So yeah, but the level is looking healthy here. I set everything to pre-fader even though they're up, so I can listen to them. All 16 channels are checked. Next up, we check the other preamps in here, install the 24 volts. Super excited about that. And that is the recording rack finished. Woo! Here we are. Very, very nice. There is some space for more preamps. If I wish, also I can just stack on top. I want to connect the tape machine in the future to be able to mix down. Whew, what a day. I love maintenance day. I should do it more often. Now, I did a quick measurement of the speaker setup. Figure the subwoofer there is best. However, I want to get rid of it. It doesn't like it under the desk there. So I will get a pair of speakers that do not need subwoofers. I have quite some reflections in this setup and I want to figure out where they're from. I know I had these before, but now that I built a few other studios, I really want to tackle them. I don't know if it's the desk, and I had a desk here before. I don't know if it has something to do with some wall pieces that are visible, or like here, right? I will investigate further. Until then, yes, we fixed all the 24 volt supply. Yes, I measured in the speaker. Next time, I want to exchange one of the interfaces where I have one channel not working. Maybe it's just a plug that goes from the patch bay to the interface. I will check it. That's one issue. Then I want fans for these interfaces as well because it works so well with the bottom ones. And I want to completely rebuild this car. But that's, I think, for next week, where we'll have Florian here as well to help me. Until then, I can't wait to use it again. I'll be having a mix here on Friday, another session on Thursday. Yeah, beautiful stuff. Yes, after a good amount of work being done here, we're super happy. Today is the day that we are, and we started already. We're moving it. Yes, we're moving it to the other room. As I showed you, holes are already drilled for the cables. We're dismantling it. Yeah, then we're moving it over. And then we're putting it back together. All these cables, they will be on the other side. Let's see how it goes. here we are in the server room with the server rack, and I don't think I have everything on camera, but we struggled quite a bit getting it in here because we didn't want to take it apart completely. We took off the roof, we took off the legs, then we took off this skirt or whatever it had down, and we still had to take off at least the upper part to get it barely through the door. Now we're here, and you've seen us already removing the insulation we added. Well, it looks like, you know what I mean. It doesn't look good, but there's two issues we had. One was I added this for sound insulation. A, we don't need it here, and B, it wasn't even that effective. But what it does is restricting the airflow inside this rack, and I had temperature warnings on the server. And I don't want to have these anymore in this new room. Volume is not an issue anymore, so we're gonna crank up the fans here all the way. Now, next step is getting all the computers in, and then the last step will be cabling. I am very, very excited. Exhausted already because this was a heavy task. Thank you so much, Florian, for the hard work. And yeah. Let's push on. And look at that, cabling is done internally. We're ready. Power is there. It looks even better than before. We learned a lot about cable management in this process. Just some teeny wires here and there. But yeah, as organized as it gets. Lovely. We're gonna grab some food. And then it's time to get the cables that go through here. Yes, the next step has already begun. Undoing all the cables. We will move out the console for that. Here we are back, and it is a dream, but well, it also is a nightmare. Studio is in ruins again. It is claustrophobic. We're dealing with cables. We have undone the old cables. It was hard to film because it's happened and it's such a large space. I mean, we were working here, over there, all over the room. Now I'm pretty happy with what we've got, even though, I mean, this looks neat, right? This we're gonna make even more neat. And then for this room, this is where we arrive. But there's a big problem. The cable lengths are, well, short. And I cannot put the switch here. So we will have to lengthen the cables. And with the analog ones, well, I just solder them. I think I might even have some cables that do have the length. Otherwise, I will just solder a more cable to it and then aim for probably there. I'll see how long the cables are that I have a sufficient length. And with the optical cables, I will buy Kupplung, like jumpers, so I can add just another cable to it. Right, because I have some more shorter cables that will be sufficient in length. Welcome back to the studio, and oh how quiet it is. You see consoles running? Computers are gone. Cables are there. They're going to the neighboring room. Is there any noise spill from here? If you put your ear to it, you can hear it very quietly. In the distance. Nice. Very, very nice. I'm doing the first tests today and I just connected all the computers. Let me show you how it looks like in the other room. Yes, it looks like this. Here we have the, so I like to call it server schrank, the server rack. It is in the middle of the room, just because we built it there. Now, as far as the opticals goes, there is 2 cables missing for the RME, for it to be fully functional. They go in here, and I need more extensions like these. They are ordered, and they will arrive here shortly. I hope very, very soon, because I want to mix. But as you can see, computers are talking, and as you also see here, successful start of the system. Very, very nice. First start with it being in the other room. And while this feels like a proper server room now, with all the noise. Whoa, and here we are. Bunch of green lights. Bunch of reactivated messages. And almost all of them are online except for one, where I will now, as I confirmed it, cross the cable that I have. Right? So that we have all of them connected. Then the only thing missing for a working system is the MADI connections for the RME. And I think for tomorrow, because I would actually love to mix tomorrow, but I don't think my connectors will arrive tomorrow. I might go as far as to put the RME either just like straight in that corner or over here, right? Or I just put it in that room together with the frame. Back for another maintenance day. Here we are, the console served us very, very well. We moved the server schrank into the other room with the new cable loom, looking much, much neater, and also the room being a lot quieter, and also we do not have the temperature problems anymore that the room heats up. It still heats up a little bit, but not too much. You only notice it after 6 to 8 hours that it's getting a little bit more warm. Then the console is kind of sweating, right? Because this is getting warm after a while, but it takes a long time for it to be so. I will clean up the room a bit now that everything's installed and working. I'll try to tidy up the cabling and just trying to find better space for tools and leftover cables, take some things home that I need in my workshop and so forth. I encountered one problem with the DSP. One board crashed and I tried to replace the cluster that was marking as red, and it didn't quite function yet. So I'll play around with it. I brought some spare DSP boards from home. I mean, they're good here anyways, right? And we tested a bit. I'm right now pretty happy with 6 DSP boards and 72 channels on mixdown. Because my MADI system does not support more. And I think I only ever once gotten to the end of it. So I think that's plenty of tracks to work with, right? But yeah, so far I also want to do some tiny things with the console surface. Trying to get, you know, some blinds on to make it look more finished. I'm trying to get my Talkback down here. That's one thing I would like to do. And yeah, then really take it from there. I'm super excited. Let's get to work. Yes, and that is a clean floor. All the cables, they run over here now. They run over there now. They're coming down here. I'll try to organize this more. Right, but so far the front is looking perfect. Super, super nice. I will run these opticals through there as well. Found a better solution later in the process. But that is the wiring cleaned up. I'm super, super, super happy. Next up, we're gonna look at the DSP cards, right? I'm hyped about it. Let's get it done. Okay, here we are up and running. Looking very good. Now my concern is, and I don't know if you can see it on camera, I have these 3 DSP clusters here. And the top one is not flickering. Like these 2 are, but the top one isn't. Let's investigate, route audio through it, and see how it responds. Okay, and here we are with the DSP test, and you can see a routed signal on every single DSP channel. Right, and it's looking mostly fine, but there is 2 channels missing here, which is interesting because these 2 are part of a cluster, but the adjacent channels, if I compare it here to my chart, the board 3 cluster 2 is 23 to 28, and the 23 is working, 4 as well, 5 and 6 are not, 7 and 8 are. So that looks like there is 1 single chip on the cluster on there. I don't know, it's not... I mean, nothing is registering as faulty, right? But I will have a look into this DSP here. And then also, the one where I thought, it's weird, it's not flickering. Yes, that is B15220 here, board 6, cluster 1. And there's no signal here as well. So, let's test. Let's see how much we can get up and running. I'm excited. Let's go. Next startup, and this one cluster that's not flickering, still not working, but this cluster here, no, working flawlessly. And I guess, like this as well as the other bug that I showed you, are kind of like startup issues. And as far as I know, these desks were kind of like never turned off. And I kind of get a glimpse why. Like if you have your system running, you just want to keep it on. I have my eye on these channels. Let's figure this cluster out. So I brought 3 more DSP boards to the studio. One of them is loaded and fully working. I will drop that in just to verify. And then, I mean, they are green all 3, but the one is just not flickering. And this is also the spot where the one cluster kind of broke, right? So I will try and put all these 3 working clusters, I hope they're working, into a different frame, let's say, and see what's going on then. Let's do it. Okay, that's crazy. So I filled again with the board that I brought as kind of working. And when I got it in, first card showed up red, no initialization. So I pressed reset, and then first board showed up orange, and the other two showed up then as working. So I was like, what if I press reset again? Now they're all three green. And you can see here, it's initiated as well. Let me load up the test and see if that works. All right, so the one cluster in question still not showing up. I don't know why, but the rest is. Let me test some more. Ooh, shit. Whoa, did I break it? Did I break it now? Oh my god, I found out something. I noticed that it would never reset the module here. Well, I went into the reset DSP script and it looks fine at the start. You have commands here for reset modules up until 15. And I know that, I think this is 11 is the blank, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then 16, 17 are like for communications. And my script only does it until command 7. And command 7 is where it stops. Reset module 13. Now, remember, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You never reset it. Module 15. And I was wondering, why is it not working? Why is it not working? Well, this module here is working because it came resetted and configured from another slot. But if I'm fiddling around with DSPs, wondering, well, why is it not, correctly initiating? Let me try that out. And here we go. Clear the virtual connections and reset. Yes, up until 15 now. It is so interesting. Now I have this card back in, remember? Yeah, look. Now this is red again. Crazy. Okay, so I have a setup now that looks like this. It has everything working, every single DSP, and guess what? It was the one that I had in working before I tried to figure what's wrong with the cards. So the new cluster that I put in, it somehow did not work, even though I marked it as green and it would show up as green, but somehow nobody liked it. Working now, next step is I figured some cards have a non-functioning delay, and that's not DSP. That has to be some of the memory chips on here. That will be fun. Okay, now that was a whole day, believe it or not, of mainly checking DSPs. I don't know where the time went, but it's a bit of a bummer that I didn't get a second full card working. I will probably, if I have spare time, recheck the DSPs that I have in my workshop, because I don't really trust the way they are resetted and initiated, right? And I learned a lot about it today. I would love to have a second full card so I can in session just drop it in if I should have a problem. And then also, of course, there's the question of how sustainable is this system. I have 2 clusters left that I can put in once something goes wrong. And I don't know how often something goes wrong, right? So yeah, that's it for today. Long day of doing not too much, but I'm still happy it works. So yeah, let's go. And here we are again. Yes, we reorganized this area. And it's so cool that it is modular and I can just do that. I have my access fader, I have my panorama next to it. I put the Talkback down here because the Talkback was here next to the mouse, which I didn't like. Also because when I have guests over and they want to talk, they have to reach past my arm. So that's much more accessible because I use that a ton in recording. So the auxes got promoted first to over here and now to over here so that I can comfortably reach that one mixing, because I do that a ton. What I do not do that often is the unit processing. Well, I do use the delay, but image control, there are some pretty amazing functions in image control that I should start to use. There's one thing that got downgraded, and that is the dynamics section. See, the compressor, limiter, and gate, they were normally here because you would want to have equalizer and dynamics down here in one channel strip. So I thought, well, the equalizer with the presets I do use on maybe 5 to 10 out of my 36 stereo tracks. The dynamics more in like 2 to 5. So I don't use it that often. If I use the dynamics, I use compressor in. That's it. Most of the time I turn down my makeup gain a bit, but I don't use it enough to justify having it in a position where I reach it, while I do toggle a lot between the auxiliary sense section, the controller sign, and the axis fader. And I wanted to have this in reach of my 2 hands. Sometimes I think maybe I even put it down here, but I made a test when sitting, and I kind of thought that when I'm here for the fader, I'm actually better here than there. This is just me rearranging my workspace as I go along, and I love it. Honestly, being able to customize the console in this way. Modern consoles, most of the time, they have a big panel that is pre-configured, but being able to move these tiny, like to just move my talkback here, this is simple functions, my panorama, the aux is around. I don't know that from any other console. And here we have it. It's on. I drilled the hole. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Finally. So good. And here we are. I connected this management server via serial port to one of the DSP cards. I am not satisfied with how many cards I have that are not working. So I want to go ahead and test them. And there is possibilities to test via serial port. I connected it, I pressed the key, and now we are here in the DSP card. You can download, you can put info, you can reset, and I can test it. There's diagnostic functions, interesting. Protocol outputs. Let's go into test. And I want to do the test first. Yes, I want to boot the Shark test code. Stop signal processing. Yes. Operation cancel. Enter password to confirm. Okay. Again. And I think the password was service in all caps. Let's try that. So service worked. It's rebooting it. SRAM size. Press spacebar for test menu. Oh, I'm in the test menu. Summary. Wow. Signal and sum. ATM test. Okay. What are they doing here? They do test now. Let me see that. Test 2. Test all summary. They say this is not a good option. Shark.com. Let us test 2. Illegal choice. Oh, I'm on caps lock. That was an illegal choice. That was quick. I mean, we can do everything until 7, so we can do 3 now. We can do 4, 5, 6, 7. And this card is good. Cool. Let's do that for the other cards that I have. And then I want to go into cards that I know that are not working. Alright, and here I am. with our first error light. I ran the SRAM tests on the SP card 2, and it gave me the error on signal processing cluster 2. Any key to continue, and then it showed me this MSGR41, whatever that meant, but cluster 2 as they call it, and I guess that is kind of like 012. It had an error. I'll write that down and then we'll see if we can get that fixed. And the SRAM, I think, is responsible for the delay. Okay, and here we have it. One cluster stuck on red, and here it's booting cluster 0, cluster 1, and then the last cluster he kind of stopped at shark 3, meaning the 4th, and then no response, aborted. I'm in the main menu. Let's go into the test menu, boot the test code, and see what happens. If I am getting that far. Oh! 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 Nice! I mean, I am getting further now. He did let me do the others. If only I knew which one that is, the number 3. Like, who is it? How do they count? Is that 1, 2? And I was guessing that, I mean, I have this column of lamps, that's 2 and that's 4. And probably these 4 are 4. These 4, are they in that order? And they as well? I mean, I'm kind of seeing a red light, but which one is it exactly? Now another interesting thing happened with this card. On one of the tests, well, interestingly enough, one was not booting, but still for the shark, or for all the other tests, I'm getting an okay. And then I'm doing the DPRAM3. And he says, yeah, tower cluster 2 test. And then error occurred on summation processing cluster. And that is, if you look at these cards, they have the 3 clusters, but then also they have this array of DSP here, and also of RAM. And I'm guessing that this is what they refer to as cluster 4. But it looks like this carrier card failed a few tests. Okay, interesting. So I have clusters in here that I tested as dead, or I mean, I marked some of them orange. That was when I had green and reds at the same time. But I remember when I did these tests first, I did not use the official protocol. And then sometimes I did not properly reset the cards and everything. So here we are again. Now, he actually did boot the first 2 clusters. And then only on the cluster 3, kind of like everything failed. Okay, and that is interesting. He did boot up all 3 cards that I marked as non-functioning before. Everything looking good here. Also now he did boot all the sharks on cluster 4. Let's go into test menu, boot the shark code again. Enter service. Let us see. Looking good. Test 2. Aha. Okay, moment of truth. There is 2 cards that I did not test yet that I had in there. If they work, then I have a confirmed 100% working DSP system with 24 DSPs per card times 6. So that is 144 DSP chips working. If not, well, I do have spare clusters. That is not a problem. I will replace these 2 clusters. I have 4 that should work. That's a good start. Summation clusters fail. I might have a problem. Oh no. So I ran the tests, and then there's test 3 is run. And there's an error on all clusters. Oh, damn it. Why is that? Okay, so the other card tested perfectly fine, and this mother card tested fine. Now there's one DSP here. It's making problem. Then there's 1 here. And then there's 3 here. I have 4 that are confirmed working. That's 1 too little. Yes, and with that, we cleared this whole card. I exchanged 1 cluster. It passed all tests now with okay. Amazing. I will do this, and then it's late in the night. Cool. Let's get this one going, and then I call it the night. And there we have another card completely finished. Like I said, this card we'll do next time. This is done. My job for today here as well. Yeah, I'm super tired. I'll be here again tomorrow mixing, but also knowing that a lot of it is just working as it should. I'm looking forward to it. We're making this the perfect system. Also, spare parts for me are getting short. And as it stands now, I would love to use this system for a longer time. There is actually one guy in Germany selling a similar or one of these systems. It's completely in parts, and I'm thinking about buying it. So maybe we can do together, because I will acquire 1 more console that I will not use. So if you're interested in owning and using one of these systems in your studio, get in touch. I could build one of these with a similar amount of ins and outs for your studio, and then also have enough spares for myself, because that will come with 3 loaded switches, right? And yeah, 1 console only needs 1 spares for everyone. So far so good. Let's go to bed. Okay, here we are, and I wanted to show you and confirm the SRAM issue. Now, last night I figured that the only board that had these issues now is board 4 with all 3 clusters. The other ones are fine, and my theory is that the SRAM is only affecting the delay, because that's the only information that needs to be stored. And now to confirm this, let me take a healthy channel. So board 3, cluster 3, 29 to 34. So I have A34 here. This is my test setup where I have signal going through every single channel. And if I PFL this, I'm getting healthy signal. Now I go to channel 35. And channel 35 is on board 4, cluster 2. It sounds fine. Equalizer sounds fine. Compressor works fine. But delay. There you have it. That sounds bad. Ooh. Yes. Nice distortion effect, but not what we want. We are back, and remember the noise. Let me show you the noise. If I plug this in, it's my return, and go back to the console. That is the noise. I can reset the cards. I showed you all of this. Maybe it disappears, maybe not. Now I got a clue from the guys in the Netherlands with the Lawo truck, right? They said they know the problem, they fixed the problem. So I went out and bought a thing. And that brings us to this device. Remember I told you the person owning this desk before me, they were using a sample rate converter from DirectOut Tech to fix this problem. Now I got the info from the Netherlands. They said it's not about the sample conversion, it's about this company DirectOut Tech. Their MUDI ports are configured so that they can read both signals. So the idea is that the signal output from this optical MUDI port is too low in order for the army to read it. These devices are supposed to read both signals just fine, the signals from the army and the signals from the board. Now this is not a sample rate converter. The guys in the Netherlands, they fixed it just with a 16x680 matrix. This is a smaller version of that matrix. Okay, so it didn't work. It didn't change anything. It sounded just like before. You had the crackle. I put this device in and I had the same crack as before. Signal was being sent one-on-one. Well, I was then about to show to Florian how it behaves normally. So I would not have this device in. I would go over, I'm doing it from this computer now, I have a script. I would reset the MUDI card and the noise would still be there, reset, and after 4 or 5 resets, you would have a normal signal. I would then have this device in line, I would do a reset and the noises were a bit different. There was still noise though. I would do another reset, noise was gone. I would do a reset, noise was there, reset, noise was gone, reset, noise was gone, reset, noise was there. 50-50 chance. Maybe better than before. We did a few restarts of the whole frame and the rates of which we had noise or no noise were considerably better. I don't know if that is like a bias thing or something, but I was initially disappointed because I thought, well, this doesn't solve anything. And I mean, this is a minimalist device. It doesn't tell you anything. I don't even know, does this have any additional latency? What happens between here and there, right? Well, when the console is restarted and this thing connects, there is some things happening, some noises happening that I did not have before. So something is happening here. And I will now test in the long run if this is a better situation than before with this device. And there's another thing that we did. Look at these patch bays. They are labeled now. We checked all the lines as well. There was 1 or 2 plugs not working. It works now. When we already did most of it, I figured my patch bay before I had the labels under the plugs. And that's the big question, to put them over or under. Right now I have them over, right? I mean, it makes sense. You can still read it when the cable is inserted. But looks like I had it the other way around before. We'll see about that. But a labeled patch bay is just something else, because this is like your roadmap. This is your hood. I want to know where I'm at, where I go from where to where, and there's regions where I'm more often, like the Pultec and 1176, because I use these for recordings. They're being patched more often. There are some areas that I don't patch at all, because they're either patched into my mix bus, and that usually stays on, or like the API BT50 EQ here, I address them directly with an external effect plugin in Ableton. And then we did the same for the recording side. That's the update for now. I mean, the tape machine wants to be configured. I did change some of the gain staging of the console to improve with noise. I updated my mix bus for that, the gain staging here. I told you about the thing that where if I use a higher gain setting, I have to turn down my listening knob. I still have to either build a pad or I use a passive volume controller somewhere in between. And other than that, I added these strips back in from the move. That has been blank, and now you can see. Neat. There is still, I think, on this side, 2 strips missing. Right, where I do have strips with a correct size from the back of the console, but they have this gray color that you see under here as well. I will cut these to length and then paint them in the same white. I'm waiting for the color code from Lawo to be able to do so, and then it should be flawless. What a beautiful system. Woohoo! Update on the console, and I had this massive problem with noise that I showed you. I mean, as you can see now, there is no noise, and I could do the resets of the MIDI cards, and previously sometimes it would have taken me like 10 resets or so, and now a lot of times the console boots up and it's just working fine, and then if it's not, it takes 1 reset, rarely 2, to get it going then. Which means another problem fixed of this Lawo. Barely anything that does not work on this system right now. I know sometimes I have to reset the DSPs because I get some noise, but after reset they all work fine. But I'm so happy to get this noise issue on boot up fixed, which is great. Now let me clean up a bit. And otherwise it's just a blessing, really. The system works. I'm recording with it. I'm mixing on it. Super cool stuff. Yoo-hoo! Clean! I think I'm gonna get the drill now and add some just little hooks or screws to run it all across this arc, but already with the cable tunnel here as well. Woohoo! And I fixed another issue. My monitor pot. Now, where I would love it to be if I undim it and play it. Not blowing my ears off now. I have a passive monitor controller. I think this does a little bit to my frequencies, and I guess that's with the way the impedance is implemented there, and I'm not sure if that keeps my stereo level stable. So I will probably build a dampening matrix, or I live with it until I get a completely new speaker system that hopefully handles higher volumes. I think I have it calibrated to the perfect level. This is Rundfunkstandard. +6, +9 is what somebody recommended to me that they use in broadcast. And actually, when you load a default project, that's what it suggests you to use as well. +6, +9. That makes for a maximum of +15 dBu output level, which is not the +21 that you find on some devices. But for me, that is hot enough. I tested it with the 1176, and yes, I get all the color that I want. And then also this works perfect with the gain staging that I had before with this system, meaning if I have a kick drum at -6 peaking, I have this output fader here at -10 from my summing, feeding into my master bus or mix bus chain, making it peak just at the right moments with the limiter. So yeah, happy with that. Finally sorted. No more volume pot at the center or left positions, losing resolutions there. If I have it here, I'm fine with not using a analog volume control, because if I have it on dim or lower volumes, I'm not doing critical listening. For me, most important is that I have like my preset volume, and that should be full resolution. And that is perfect. Perfecto. Haha. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. Cable runs nicely on this side. I guess I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. Tuck it a little bit in the corner. Yeah. And then I am happy for now.